How's it, guys, and welcome back to another Greg Dennis review in pride association with Change Cars. Now, as you can see, I'm with something pretty exciting. Now, this is the brand new Jetour T2, a highly anticipated car in South Africa. I get asked about it all the time. Greg, tell us about the T2. We want to know more about it. There's barely any reviews out there. Well, that's about to change because you're watching one of them, and hopefully one of the very first road trip type videos where I can talk about everything you need to know about this. We'll talk pricing, specification, comfort, and most importantly, fuel consumption. So we're here in the Midlands. We're going to drive it around this beautiful part of the country, and then I'm going to take about a 4-hour road trip back to Johannesburg, give the car back to them, and hopefully be able to tell you guys everything you need to know about it, from the outside, the inside, and even about this really epic paint job that you have to pay extra for, but still, I think it's really cool. So for now, let's start off by looking at the outside of this beautiful Jetour T2. And I must say that it is quite a nice looking SUV. It looks adventure ready, it looks utilitarian, and it looks like it's built to go off-road, which it definitely can. Things I like about the exterior design, you've got these squared wheel arches. I like how everything is boxy and squared off, so all elements match the overall design of the car, from these headlights up front here with the daytime running lights, the fog lights down at the bottom, the square elements here at the bottom of the grille as well. Jetour badging, which also lights up at night, but you'll see all of them in square boxes again. So you can see the theme that's going on here. Coming down the side of the car, you are going to find some 19-inch wheels. They look quite cool, and they give you a big enough tire to keep the ride comfort quite nice. But something I did want to talk about is this really cool paint job. So this is the Dark Knight edition. It's a 20,000 Rand option. So for that, you're going to get matte black paint from the factory along with those red brake calipers. So quite a cool look, and definitely turns heads when people see you driving on the road. On top of the bonnet, you are also going to find some little utilitarian elements. Not that I think that these are actually any or functional, they're just plastic bits on top of the bonnet, but still they look quite cool, and they add to the overall aesthetic of the vehicle, as well as these little, like, you'd call them little flares or little vents on the side of the car here. They don't really have a purpose. They just look quite cool on the side there. There's no actual airflow through the center. You've got some side steps, and then working our way to the back of the car, this is definitely the money shot, and I love the way that it looks from the rear. Again, boxy, squared off. You can see it's got a literal flat back to the side of the car here. It's definitely taken inspiration from the Land Rover Defender, but you can see that there are different elements on here to make it different and stand out from that car specifically. What I do like is the way that the window kind of detailing wraps around the back of the car here. You've got some nice looking rear tail lights as well, with those red LEDs kind of matching the design on the front of the car, as well as these rear fog lights that match the design of the ones in the front too. They look quite cool. I quite like those. So yeah, this is the outside of the new T2. You can see the T2 badging over here, and it's going to say XWD because this is an all-wheel drive version, because you get a your front-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive. Now this is the top spec 2-liter all-wheel drive, which we'll speak to in a little bit more detail just now. But for now, this is the new T2 in its Black Knight edition with the black paintwork, red calipers, and all of its off-road goodies. I think that it looks absolutely epic. It was then time to get into the cars and head out into the meander for a drive. Now the first big decision I had to make on this trip was which car do I decide to go into. Now obviously I went for the matte black version, and then off we went. We left the estate with a really beautiful driveway. I mean, look how cool this looks. It was then time to head out onto the road and see what the car was all about. And the great thing about coming to the meander is that you really get to experience what this T2 is like in its sport mode, because these roads are so twisty and turny. They are really a lot of fun, and I'm driving it to the max of the speed limit that I can, and it's definitely holding itself well. There's a little bit of body roll as you'd expect, because it's an SUV, so it's a bit high off the ground. But really, throwing it into these corners and having fun with it, you definitely can do that with this car. So it's not only going to be that hardcore off-roader that you only have to have fun with on the sand and rocks and things, but you can definitely have a lot of fun with this car on the open road. So doing some road trips and some runs on a weekend, you can have a lot of fun with this car like I'm doing. And I obviously could not resist finding a little detour, so I got onto a dirt road, not sure where I was going, but I was able to see what this car looked like off the tar road. So now it's finally time to do that road trip from Pietermaritzburg to Johannesburg. It's about a 4 to 5 hour drive depending on how you want to take it. But the good thing is I'm now going to be able to really get behind the wheel for those 4 hours or so and really see what this car is like, what the comfort's like, what the technology is like, how it's like to live with, and more importantly, what the fuel consumption is going to be, because I'm interested to see what those real world figures are going to be in this Jetour T2. And remember when I said it resembles the Defender slightly? I mean, well, look at the flat back and the tire on the Defender, and then look at the flat back and the tire on the back of the Jetour T2. So yeah, definitely a lot of inspiration from the Land Rover Defender. And so here we are, as you can see by the number plate, this is Mr. Greg's car. Well, that's how I've remembered which my car is. And you can see all of the cars here out in the morning, all full of dew, looking so picturesque with their matte black paint and all of the dew on them, looking really, really nice. All my bags are packed, equipment is there, and now all that's left is to drive. But just watch out, because these roofs don't have gutters on them, so when you stop driving, water falls in your car. Okay, welcome to the road trip. It is officially underway, and on our way to Johannesburg from Pietermaritzburg, we are going to stop off at that Golden Gate National Park. It looks absolutely beautiful, and you'll see when I get there what I'm talking about. So if you haven't been there before, trust me, you're going to be blown away by the views, and hopefully the weather's nice and we can see everything. Now, going from Pietermaritzburg to Joburg, we're also going to be going through a couple tolls, so I will also be putting on screen how much all of those tolls were going to cost. But for now, we were at about 17 kilometers since we left our accommodation in Pietermaritzburg, and we're currently averaging 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So far, I think that's pretty good, because the claim figures are slightly higher than that, and I'll put that on screen for you to see. But claim figures are one thing. All we're going to talk about in this video are the actual real stats. So right now, averaging 8.4, 17 Ks into our trip at the moment. Let's see how it goes. So I thought this would also be the perfect opportunity to start speaking about the pricing, the specs, and what makes all the cars in this range different and what you can potentially look for. So what we're driving right now is the top spec 2-liter turbo Odyssey 7-speed dual clutch automatic 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive version. So that's the top spec, and that's going to set you back 679,900 Rand. But if you are wanting to get the version that looks like this, which is going to be the Dark Knight edition, which is going to be the matte black paint and the red calipers, and like to make it look quite ominous, then that's gonna, well, you're then gonna need to add an additional 20,000 Rand onto that price. So that's gonna then take you up to 699,000 Rand, just sort of 700K for the top spec version of this T2 looking this damn cool. But if you are wanting to get into an entry-level version, that's going to be the 1.5. That's going to, the 1.5 Aspire, and that's going to also be the 7-speed dual clutch, and that's going to start from 569,000 Rand. So 570,000 Rand to get into a T2. That's going to be the base model for you to choose from. You can't add the Dark Knights pack onto any of those entry-level 1.5 options, because Jetour has said that that only comes in the 2-liter version. So unfortunately, that sucks a little bit. But firstly, let's listen to this. That's the indicator sound of this car. And I've figured out, because I've been just driving with myself in a car, that I can perfectly replicate that. Listen here. So this is what it sounds like. This is me. Sorry, I need people in the car with me, otherwise I go a little bit crazy. Okay, going back to the model range, so it starts off from the 1.5 turbo Aspire for 569,000 Rand. It then goes to the mid-spec, which is the 2-liter turbo. That's going to be the Explorer version, and that's going to be 639,000 Rand. And then you're going to get the top spec 2-liter turbo Odyssey, which is the one in here, which I've already spoken about, and with the Dark Knight pack is going to be 699,000 Rand, which isn't too bad. And then to talk a bit about the powertrains and the power output. So as I've mentioned, all three derivatives come with that 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, but the difference is the 1.5 liter turbo that puts out 125 kilowatts and 270 newton meters of torque. And then you're going to get the 2-liter turbo petrol version. Well, they're all petrol because there's no diesels, unfortunately, but that 2-liter turbo is then going to put out 180 kilowatts and 375 newton meters of torque. So that's some decent power coming out of the 2-liter turbo, I must say. But also that's pretty important, because if you're getting an off-roader like this, you do definitely need that additional power and torque, especially when going off-road, because you got to put that low grunt torque down in order to get you over obstacles and at least go where you need to go. So that's the pricing, that's the spec, and that's the power output. Okay, so a quick check-in. We're now at about 80 kilometers into our trip, and to look at the fuel consumption, we are now at 7.9. So I know traffic has caused a little bit for us to slow down and not drive as quickly, so we're not using as much fuel, so the fuel consumption naturally will come down. So once we pick up a little bit more speed, I do foresee that's changing a little bit more, but to at least see it on 8 and now just dropped to 7.9, that's pretty impressive at this stage. You would have also noticed that
drive safely.
I'm not over the speed. You would have also noticed that I changed the speedometer. So on most of the other Chinese cars, they only give you really the one speedometer to choose from, with the digital numerical for your speed, and you don't actually get to see a dial and all that. So I managed to find that in the display you can change what it looks like up front here. So if you want the traditional look with the gauge and all of that, you can do that. And now that I've found it, this is staying. I know that I haven't given you a full tour of the inside of the car yet, but I'll do that in a second. But a couple things I wanted to note about the interior is it is very comfortable to drive this car. The suspension is kind of eating up the road at the moment. It's very comfortable. It's not too hard, it's not too soft, even though this is built as an off-roader. So sometimes they do have the tendency to be a little bit too soft, but because this is a monocoque, I'm not over speed, but because this is like a monocoque setup, so it's built like a car, it's not a body on frame proper like SUV, it definitely drives like a car, and it's quite comfortable. The seats are comfortable, electronically adjustable, they've got memory functions, so you can save the setting that you're in. Soft touch materials make it really comfortable for your elbows, especially on a long trip like this, so you can rest them quite nicely. The adaptive cruise control does what it should, works quite nicely, slows you down, speeds you up. I have noticed that it doesn't have the automatic lane keep assist. What it does have is the lane departure warning only, from what I've been able to see. But through the display here, you can go and change all of that. You can switch things on, you can switch things off. You can also go and change how you want the steering to feel, so sporty, normal, or a little bit more loose, a little bit more play in it. You can kind of go and choose everything that you want from that point of view. So yeah, quite comfortable, easy to use. But for now, I'm finally going to take you on a tour of the interior. Okay, now stepping into the inside of the Jetour T2, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with what you're getting inside here. Now I say that because you've got a plethora of different types of materials and surfaces and just things to look at and feel inside here. Starting off with the steering wheel, you can see it's not actually round, it's more of like a squared off design here, which also looks quite cool and matches the overall aesthetic of the car. All the buttons for your infotainment as well as your cruise control and all that. Then in front of the driver, you've got a nice digital display, which you'll see once I close the door here. It's going to have your fuel consumption and your trip meter and all of that stuff that you can navigate through, as well as your speed right at the top over there. And then you've got this big infotainment screen. So yeah, this is pretty huge. It's going to have all of your car settings. Something I have noticed is you have to do your little rear view mirrors over here. So your mirrors on the side, there's no actual buttons to move it around. So you've got to do that through the menu over here as well. All different driving settings and things that you want to set the car up for yourself, you can do that all over here. So depending on the different types of power steering modes, if you want it lighter or sportier, you can go and change all of this. And then all of the driving assistance features too. So you'll have all of your lane assists, your forward collision warnings, rear cross traffic alerts, all that stuff you can come and look at through this infotainment. You also have to do your whole climate control through here too if you want to look at it in detail. But there are some shortcut buttons if you want to put on your demisters or just kind of work through the fan speed, which I love. So you don't have to always go through this menu, especially when in Apple CarPlay. You can simply just come down to the quick shortcut buttons down over here, which is really cool. You've got some wireless phone charging. You've then got your gear selector over here, and then you've got your X mode kind of terrain select and drive mode select over here. So when you go into these and kind of move them along, you'll see on screen that it's going to move with you. So you're going to put it into sport, snow, mud, sand, rock, eco, whatever you choose down here, it'll reflect on the screen, and that's quite cool. Nice little animations to look at. You've also got a full 360 camera system, as you'll see over here. Now I should be able to hopefully move it around. There you go. So you can always see around the car, or any angle of the car that you want to, or if you want to look straight down, it will have also this clear bonnet view, which should have for an off-roader. Then you'll be able to see right in front of you and right behind you. So that's quite nice. And then lots of storage underneath there, USB Type-C and a standard USB as well. And then here under the armrest, you're going to have quite a bit of space. You've got a little tray above your drink holders over there, and quite a big cavity down over here. Now I did speak about the materials in that, so you've got this nice squidgy material, red contrast stitching, like a little contour of a map design right in here in front. This looks pretty cool. I like that. I'm not sure if this map represents something, but if anyone does know, head down to the comments and let me know. You've got some storage over here with a little rubber mat so it doesn't slide around. You've then got your little glove box, quite a bit of space over here too. And then if you want storage in your little armrest, you can, with a little magnetic clip to keep whatever's in there nice and safe. Sony sound system, so far I think it sounds pretty good. I like the way that it looks. I like the kind of speaker surrounds. It adds to that off-road looking aesthetic that this car has. Some really nice looking seats as well. These aren't real leather, but the vinyl they've used feels quite nice. Red contrast stitching too. Very, very cool seats, and comfortable as well. And yes, they have got, let me get back, got to close this over here. There we go. And they have also got some seat ventilation too, which is always a nice little addition in South Africa. And then letting in all the light, you have also got a full panoramic sunroof that'll open up all the way down to the bottom. And yes, this will tilt open as well if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that right now. But let's go take a quick look at the rear. And this is where you'll be very, very happy with the amount of space you have back here. So that's in my seating position, and I'm 1.87 meters tall. So I'm a pretty tall guy, and look at all of my headroom that I've got here. But more importantly, look at all of this legroom. I can fit a whole hand in front of me. My legs can go all the way underneath there. I mean, check that out. I can sit very comfy back here. A complete flat floor, because this is an off-roader, so the body is kind of lifted, so you won't have that tunnel down the middle. So easy to get in and out here. Some storage, USB Type-C and Type-A, so you've got the option to choose there. All different types of pockets. And again, the really nice use of materials and designs and all of that. This car is a very nice looking car inside. There are lots of little details to look at. You can kind of get lost in all of the elements and textures and layers inside this car. It's very, very cool. And yes, you do also have little cup holders inside the little armrest. And then taking a look at the boot, you'll click the button over here and the boot will open up nicely for you over there. It's going to hold, but they've got nice little things here. So you can click this button and you've got a nice drinks holder. So if you are out here sitting and taking a look at the nice dam in front of you, you can put your drink here. You know, I don't know, they think about that. You can hang things, put that away. Another drinks holder this side, that's quite cool. And then an actual bottle opener. So there you go. They know the South African audience. We like to be refreshed, we like to chill. We know this is the sort of thing that we look for and that we love. Then here in the back, again, loads of space, little nets to store things. Underneath here, you're going to find some additional storage as well. No need for a spare wheel underneath here because, again, it is right on the back of the car. Little hooks up here too if you are wanting to strap things down, and a parcel cover as well. So a lot going for this car in the back here, a lot to show for it. And again, take a look at how cool it looks right from the rear. Okay, so we're making our way closer and closer to the Golden Gate National Park, and you can see that because the terrain is definitely changing. It's starting to look really, really beautiful, guys. But coming back to the fuel consumption, while I quickly overtake with my 375 Newton meters of torque, picks up nicely. Nicely, man. Yeah, I went over a little bit, but I needed to overtake. But yeah, pulls off nicely. There isn't a massive delay when you put your foot down, so the gears are working nicely under your foot there, and that 375 Newton meters definitely comes in handy. I didn't feel like I was shortchanged on power at all. But coming back to the fuel consumption again, we're now checking in. We're at about, let me do my math here, 210 kilometers. So we stopped at 150 Ks at the garage before, and then it all just reset. So We did exactly 150. I ended there on 8.8 liters. I told you it would go up, but that's because Van Rynen's Pass absolutely killed the fuel consumption. We got cooked. So it did go up slightly, but we are now making our way back there. It all got reset. I'm now on about 8.6. So we're not doing as much hill climbing as we were doing earlier, so it's come down slightly. But for now, a little bit more of a drive before we get to this beautiful destination. But the terrain's changing and it's looking really nice, and the car is still driving really, really well. And in terms of the drive modes, I have just kept the car in eco, so I haven't put it in normal and all of that. I just put it in eco so we can just chill to see how we can get the best fuel consumption out of the car. But Kumbi, who is ahead of me, has left his in just normal, and he's getting about the same fuel consumption anyway, and he's leading the pack. So between eco and normal, it doesn't seem to be a massive fuel consumption difference at this stage. So I might considering going back to normal, but for science purposes, I'll keep it in eco, and then we'll compare it with his at the end of the journey. Okay, we finally made it. Heading in to the national park. Oh, it looks beautiful. What's up? And here we are, windows up, we're at the national park. And guys, you can't say that this place isn't beautiful. So if you're ever traveling from Joburg to this side, or from this side of Pietermaritzburg to Joburg, definitely try and integrate this into your journey. All that I can say is that it definitely does affect the fuel consumption. I'm now on 9.1, and we're about 200, close to 250 k's into the journey. But who needs fuel consumption when you've got views like this? Okay, so around 330 kilometers covered so far on our way back to Johannesburg, and our fuel consumption has increased. Yeah, so it's taking a little bit of a hit. It's not coping well with the uphill travel back to Joburg, so we're now averaging 9.3, which I think in the greater scheme of Chinese cars and things like that, it's still not too bad. Okay, so 9.3 right now. And the other thing that's really worrying me a little bit is the amount of fuel versus how far we've got to go still. So we've got 240 kilometers to still travel, and I've got around 248 kilometers of range. So things are going to be tight, so I need to be a little bit nicer on the pedal. Not that I haven't been already, it's still in eco mode. So I've done everything I need to do, and now I just need to try and be a little bit more lighter on the gas. Not that I haven't been already, but things are looking a little tight right now. Okay, so 520 kilometers into the trip, and we eventually put extra fuel in. So we would have had just enough to get back to the Jetour head offices, but because of Friday traffic roadworks, we didn't want to really take the chance. And again, the fuel consumption stuff has all reset itself from the past trip. So what we are going to do now is continue to look at the overall trip from when the car was originally handed over to us yesterday, and I'm now going to be sitting on 9.5 for the whole 566 odd kilometers that we've had the car for. So we're going to be tracking that one. I don't think it's going to change too much. We're now going to head into traffic. We can see Johannesburg, so the end is near. It's almost done. So let's finish up this drive. And just to clarify something which I don't think I have done already, but this car has got all-wheel drive. It doesn't have four-wheel drive. It's not a 4x4. So you can't physically switch between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive on this like you normally would be able to on a 4x4. So with this having all-wheel drive, it's got a system that will then automatically send power or a portion of the power to the rear versus the front, and at the same time to kind of get you out of any situations that you are in when you are going off-road. But that's about it. You can't physically switch between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, unfortunately. So, but that's okay. And together with its X modes over here, the mud, the sand, all of that stuff, it'll select between all of that to give you the best traction when going off-road, which I was able to see when I went to go to that little off-roading event that they had recently, which I'll link above here for you guys to go and check out. Now, if you're in the market to get yourself a Jetour T2, or any of them, then go check one out on changecars.co.za. They're a website that sells new and used cars, but the best thing about them, they vet and check every single dealership that sells cars on their website, essentially making them the safest online platform to buy and sell cars in South Africa. Now, they've got a really cool feature called Beat My Quote, where you can bring them a quote from a dealership that's not on Change Cars' website, and not only will they match the quote, but they'll beat it too. So it will actually save you money by trying out changecars.co.za. Okay, so we're around the corner from the Jetour offices, our final destination of our trip today, or the past 2 days. So, what have we come to with the fuel consumption? All right, so we are now sitting on 9.6, which is going to be my ending figure for this particular drive and review that we've just done. Now, I do feel like the car has the potential to be in the high 8s. I do feel like we were just throwing a couple curveballs with traffic and following a convoy and all of that stuff, which led to our consumption being slightly higher. But this is still pretty good, taking into account what the rest of the Chinese cars in the categories are like in terms of their fuel consumption. So that's pretty good. Now, one or two things that I want to chat about that's I think or hope they could fix. Now, the first thing is going to be when driving slowly in traffic at like maybe 15 k's an hour and you kind of just plodding along going forward, the car feels like it is slightly wanting to stall. I know that's not the case, but it feels a little funny between first and second, but other than that, it's okay. The other thing was going to be also when pulling off. So if you are at a standstill and wanting to get off quite quickly, you'll feel a slight delay, and then the power will pull in or kick in quite quickly. So you'll feel this woof in power. So, I mean, that's also just a standard category thing for these cars as well. So maybe that's just one of those things. But other than that, it's a really good car. I think Jetour have put together a really good product. I think that it's quite versatile, it's quite capable in terms of its all-wheel drive system. It's packed with a lot of features, a lot of technology, and quite a bit of kit. I like the design that they've used inside here. It's not bland and boring. It's quite an exciting interior, and I feel that that definitely matches the personality of the type of person that's going to be buying this car. So yeah, man, I think Jetour did pretty good here, and I think the pricing is also then quite spot on with everything that they are offering. So yeah, let's end this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this and learned a whole bunch more about this newcomer, the Jetour T2. Now, if you did enjoy it, please do drop a like below, and if you want to see more videos like this and other car reviews and car content, then please subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.